So it's such a gorgeous day and I was down on the plot nice and early, so I thought today I would do a quick harvest video, see the sorts of things that, you know, it's quite a transition just taking place now as we move to lots of new season stuff, new season calabrese, new season onions, new season turnips, quite a few things. So the first harvest of the day is calabrese. We've harvested a bit of this already, we've got some side shoots coming, and we've got 3 more successions of calabrese to come before all these beds are cleared for the summer crops, tomatoes and peppers and all those sorts of things. So yeah, it's gorgeous. It's really nice having calabrese at this time of year. These were sown first succession in October and then the second one in November. So next up we're harvesting purple sprouting broccoli. We've got a pretty good crop actually this year. We've been harvesting this for the last 3 weeks, but of course it just keeps on coming. It's looking nice. This has got to be one of our favourite crops. One of the tricks is trying to make sure you don't have too much of it, especially at this time of year. So I'm always looking for great interplants, and this year I interplanted into my lettuce, one of my lettuce beds, these turnips, and they've kind of overpowered the lettuces a little bit. I'm not really that worried about that because I've got loads of lettuce and the lettuce will recover and the turnips are being rapidly harvested. So I think it's been a pretty good experience. It's not been quite as good as doing the same thing in the spinach bed because the spinach bed's now just going to seed and the turnip bed is now just growing to maturity, and it's basically filling out what used to be the spinach bed. So I'll twist out this spinach pretty soon, but I'm still getting a harvest of spinach, and yeah, it's been lovely. I've got a great little harvest of turnips for this time of year, with lots more to come. Similar sort of interplant into this early kale bed, and so in this case we're harvesting radishes, and we've already harvested a lot of radishes this year, and this bed is pretty much finished. So we'll get this out, and there's still enough space in this kale bed to interplant something else, maybe even another batch of radishes. So there's today's radish, and something that I've never seen before, a lot of these were really spoiled and you know, kind of little mouldy spots on the side of them, and I wonder whether that's slug damage. And anyway, never seen it before. Another interplant that I've really liked this year is spinach and field beans. So all of this was just grown outdoors with no cover, and the field beans keep, you know, you can harvest those all the way through winter. They kind of keep growing back. They're a bit slow. They're really fast at this time of year. You just harvest the tips, of course, not all the leaves. So you're just harvesting this little bit here, and they just grow up in between the spinach, so they're really easy to find and harvest. And as the spinach kind of again goes to seed, you can just twist the spinach out and leave the field beans, and then eventually you can replant and leave the field bean roots in with all of their soil improving properties. And this bed's going to be my winter brassica bed, so it's really nice to have that extra nitrogen in the ground. So lots of people ask me what's the difference between field beans and broad beans, and I have got some information on that in my year-round growing guides on peas and beans, and there's a section in here that talks about field beans and broad beans and harvesting them for the tips, or the field bean shoots as I call them, because when you're harvesting them you're only harvesting this little bit here. So if you're interested in harvesting field beans for the leaves, take a look in the description below, take a look at the book, and there's some videos and things linked in here as well as lots to read. So we've run out of onions now in the store, and so what we're doing is we're using these really big spring onions, and they're good, they're fine, chopped up, whatever, in cooking. They're not massive, but they're certainly really usable. And we've got loads of them. So right now, these are onions, and we've got loads, much bigger than this, of course, that we overwintered as bulbing onions rather than spring onions. But we're just using these up first because, as I said, we've got loads. I do love the way that onions clean up, and we leave the greens on, of course, because they're just great chopped up either in salads or stir fries or whatever. So now we're on to the spring onions. We like the spring onions quite a lot smaller than the cooking onions, and I just like to keep them in water because they're just super crisp, and I want to keep them that way. So we love growing sprout leaves as an alternative to cabbage. We still have cabbage, of course, but sprout leaves are a particular delicacy, and I've actually just taken this plant out because it was in the way, but that's kind of what we're after. Normally we just harvest this as a cut and come again. One of the things I love about kale is all of the different tastes and textures. Just look at this. And all this red. It's gorgeous. So now we're on to the asparagus. I love harvesting asparagus. I have this little asparagus knife. I just generally take it off just underneath the ground like that. And we've actually got a fair amount of asparagus at the moment because I did have this bed under fleece to protect the spring onions, and I think it just brought the asparagus on a bit. So there's the asparagus. Not very much, but the thing is it all starts to add up. So we really like pea shoots. They're very popular in stir fries. Right now I find that they're not sweet enough for me in a salad, but they get that way. They just need more sunshine on them. And these are Oregon sugar pod, and they are one of the sweetest shoots that you can get. It's kind of in the name, really. But they're a bit of a fiddly crop to harvest, but they are worth it. And one of the reasons I really like these is that they are one of the few things that you can actually get to harvest outdoors with no protection, and then still get your summer crop in. So, obviously things like radishes and turnips are also in that category, and lettuce and things, but, you start running out of options, and in my case, after these pea shoots all harvested, this is where I'll put my French and runner beans. So now I'm on to spinach, and it's important to harvest back the spinach quite a lot because I've got radish interplanted in here, so I need to give that space. And also, I think, as I've already mentioned, this spinach will go to seed soon, so it's best to harvest it while you can. So I've cleared that now. You can see the radishes and the turnips, and they'll grow on really quickly now. Well, basically, like these turnips have kind of overtaken the bed after only a couple of weeks. They'll be ready for harvest next week. So I try and always have successions. I've just harvested this bed, but I'm leaving quite a lot of leaf on now because a lot of my other spinach is going to seed, so I don't want to harvest this too much because I want a good harvest off it next week as well. and I've got another little succession down there, and I've got more at home, and a nice big 25-litre tub crammed full of spinach. So I'm just picking a few cabbages. I'm just taking the hearts out of them, and I could have left these in because they're only kind of at this stage here, but I really want to get parsnips planted in here, so I've got no choice really, and the results are nice enough. So now I'm on to lettuces, and I'm harvesting a mix of hearts and outer leaves, and the hearts are just so tender and crispy, but the outer leaves are, picking the outer leaves is more prolific, so I do kind of a mix of both just to make life easy for myself. So these I'm going to harvest outer leaves, and I harvested them last week as well, so you can see they grow pretty quickly. I've got another succession of lettuce down there just coming on, and then we switch really over to the back garden. I thought I'd just show you some of the different lettuce leaves. So this is Smile. It's a really mild oak leaf lettuce, and this is Canasta. This is our favourite lettuce at this time of year and all the way through summer. It's really crunchy, crisp, doesn't seem to suffer any problems with anything. So this is Navara, again really beautiful lettuce, again really crunchy rib, especially when you leave it to heart up. And this is Larini, a nice frilly lettuce, quite a nice crunch to it. This is Grenoble Red, not much red on it at the moment, just a sort of little tinge on the sides. It's a great winter lettuce. It's okay at this time of year, it's not so great in summer. This is Roxy, it's another nice winter lettuce, really comes really nice and red at this time of year. It's no good in summer or early autumn, but it's good over winter. And this is Bijou, so a nice little lettuce, but you can see here does, when the plants are a bit weak, does suffer a little bit from green fly. But in summer, once it's sort of really got going, it's just fine, no problems at all. And the last harvest from the allotment, just some of these big hearted lettuces. There's a lot more wastage when you're picking hearts, but these are gorgeous. So these are Navara, which I've already picked, but these are just super crisp. So a few of those. And then these are Marvel of All Seasons, and they're best when hearted, really, these. The loose leaves are not that good, not very good. So I'm in the back garden now, and although everything's going to seed, you can of course eat all of these little rapini, but also all of these really tender kale leaves are really gorgeous at this time of year. Even these little tiny leaves on the kale, on the curly kale rather. And if you've still got, like we have, your collards, they have absolutely gorgeous leaves now at this time of year. Basically, these are where all the collards were on the stems. So you get this amazing harvest. You get leaves in the in the summer, and then you get collet tops and collets all the way through late autumn until early spring, and then you get leaves again. It's fantastic. Now we've got a few garlic cloves left, but we're kind of using them up slowly so we don't run out, and so we're using green garlic as an alternative. Green garlic is really lovely, and the best thing about it really is that you get to use more of the stem. Now this is a bit immature, but I need these containers for my potatoes, so we're going to start with some of this. What I love about it is that you're basically trading one little bulb of garlic, and we generally use our small bulbs, the ones that are least good for eating, for all that garlic, and you can use, you know, this end bit here, the bulb part, just as if it's garlic. You can use the roots, and apparently they're incredibly garlicky. And you can use the stem. Now we use the stem as a sweet leek, so we haven't got any leeks either. So it's just fantastic. So here's the cooked veg harvest as it's finished off. Got those nice little turnips. These are the garlic, green garlic. The green onions. The spring onions for salads. Mixed brassicas. These are the leaves. Radishes for the salads. Calabrese and purple sprouting broccoli. Some nice potatoes. Loads and loads of spinach. Field bean tops. Parsley. Pea shoots. Rhubarb. And asparagus. Looks pretty nice to me. I do get a lot of questions about why the Tupperware boxes. Well, it's just to keep everything really fresh. So we harvest into these. We just do one harvest a week. The quality of the leaves at the end of the week is pretty much the same as it is at the start of the week. Everything's washed, everything's damp but not wet, and that's the sort of key to it. And obviously we put lids on and they're sealed and kept in the fridge, and they keep brilliant. And that's the same with all the veg. In fact, one of our friends just mentioned this morning that she was eating spinach that we harvested 2 weeks ago, yesterday, and she said it was amazing. She said it was just still really good quality. So obviously we try to make sure that everything's eaten within a week and resupplied, but because we were away last week, we had a 2-week gap. So if you want to know more about how and why we harvest the way we do, then take a look at my ebook, linked in the description, and the section on harvesting. And I go into everything basically that you've seen today, and all the different things that we use during the harvesting process, why we harvest the way we do, etc, etc. So I hope you like this quick video. My name's Steve, this is the Seaside Kitchen Garden and Allotment channel, and I'll see you soon.